Dear students, welcome to Insight Academy. In today's session, we're going to have a discussion of your prelims test paper. Topic is Indian history and culture. I hope all of you have attempted your test paper and you have checked your marks. So keep your test paper with you so that you can match your answers and you can see what kind of mistakes were committed and how you could have avoided these mistakes. This test paper, as always, has 100 questions. So all the 100 MCQs will be discussed one by one. First 80 questions are related to the topic here, that is history and culture. And the last 20 questions are related to current affairs. So starting from 1 till 100, all the questions will be discussed. I'll tell you not only the right answer, but also the reasons behind the correctness of that answer. You should be in a position to understand all the options which are right and which are wrong so that you don't have to think twice before taking your right option. Look at question number 1 here. In the context of Harappan settlements, consider following statements. So the moment you get the question, try to think about that particular topic so that all the information, all the knowledge that you have gathered so far about that particular issue comes to the forefront or the front part of your brain. Then you can process, you can analyze easily. Unlike other Harappan cities, Lothal was divided into 3 parts. There is only one Harappan city that has been found to have been divided into 3 parts, and that was not Lothal, that is Dholavira. So Dholavira should have been the right city here, not Lothal, or Lothal is not divided into 3 parts. So Dholavira should have been the right city here. First point here is wrong because only city of Dholavira is divided into 3 parts. There is upper town, there is a middle town, and there is a lower town. Generally, there are 2 upper town and lower town. Middle town is available only at Dholavira. So that is unique to Dholavira, one of the UNESCO's World Heritage Sites. So number 1 is wrong here. Read questions slowly, carefully, so that you do not commit a silly mistake. At least 5 to 8 such questions are going to come in front of you which you have not read properly, which you have committed wrong just because you did not pay sufficient attention. So kindly pay proper attention, read everything properly from first word to the last word. Point number 2, tools used for making beads and several seals belonging to other contemporary civilization were found at Kordiji. At Lothal, we have discovered a worker's shop or a workshop. In that workshop, we have discovered tools and beads and other things along with the seals of Persian Gulf. So it's not Kordiji, it is Lothal. Which of the statement is correct? So not correct you will find at many places. So that particular point of instruction also you have to pay attention very carefully because sometimes you will not read not correct and you will end up committing mistake in spite of the fact that you might be knowing answer. So both the statements are wrong here. Which one is correct? Neither 1 nor 2. Question, this is a picture or the pictorial representation of Dholavira, how there is a dockyard. Dockyard indicates their water lifting mechanism, how they were involved in sea trade, and Persian Gulf seals, bead makers factories, ornaments factory, all these things have been found in the city of Dholavira. This is a picture from, this is a Lothal, not Dholavira, Lothal, and this is a picture from Dholavira. Dholavira is the only city where we have 3 parts. Another picture from Dholavira is step well. These kind of step wells were also used by Harappans to store their water or to fetch water for drinking purposes. Because of this kind of water management system, the Harappan civilization could flourish even in the semi-arid area of western parts of India, that is Rajasthan, and parts of Pakistan, that is Sindh. Question number 2. Read the following statements about religious life during ancient age in India. Ashrama system was developed by Brahmanas to counter the increasing popularity of Buddhism and Jainism. Ashrama system means Brahmacharya, Grihasthashram, Vanprasthashram, and Sannyasashram. So this ashrama system is all about 4 different stages of life. Ashrama system came into existence in later Vedic age, and first reference of ashrama system is found in Chandogya Upanishad. So it's Upanishad age. In Chandogya Upanishad, there's a reference of first 3 ashramas. In Jabala Upanishad, there's a reference of all the 4 ashramas. So Upanishads contain the reference of ashrama system. Upanishads were composed during later Vedic age. So ashrama system came into existence in later Vedic age, means something around 1000 BC to 600 BC. Buddhism, Jainism came into existence in 6th century BC. So these are much later phenomena. Ashram system did not emerge after the emergence of Buddhism and Jainism. Ashrama is a much older concept when compared with rise of Buddhism, Jainism. So ashrama was not a response and reaction to Buddhism, Jainism. That is wrong here. Number 2, the rules made for Buddhist Sanghas were written down in Vinaya Pitaka. Pitakas are the books of Buddhism. Sutta Pitaka, Vinaya Pitaka, Abhidhamma Pitaka. Sutta Pitaka contains the teachings of Buddhism or the sayings of Mahatma Buddha. Sutta Pitaka was composed by Buddha's chief disciple, Anand. Vinaya Pitaka contains the rules of monastic life and composed by Buddha's another main disciple, Upali. Abhidhamma Pitaka was composed in 3rd Buddhist assembly headed by Mogaliputta Tissa. So 3rd Buddhist assembly was held in Patliputra during the reign of Ashoka. At that time, Abhidhamma Pitaka was composed. Vinaya Pitaka and Sutta Pitaka were composed at the time of 1st Buddhist council held in Rajagraha. So this point is right here. The rules made for Buddhist Sanghas were written down in Vinaya Pitaka, and the book provides reference for the presence of separate orders for men and women. There were separate organizations or the separate segments in monastery for the residence of men or the male monks and the female monks. This is correct here. Unlike men, the women had to take prior permission of their husband to join Buddhist Sangha. That's correct. Anybody under obligation, soldier, a debtor, or a slave, even women were required to take permission of their elder's husband if woman was married, and father if woman was unmarried. So this is also correct here. You have to choose the correct statements here. Look at the instruction here. Statements you need to see and correct one. So first is wrong, second and third are correct. Option is 2 and 3. Consider following statements. During Neolithic age, a gradual shift in the way of living of men from being hunter-gatherer to becoming agriculturist was witnessed. That's correct. For the first time, agriculture commenced in India during Neolithic age. Neolithic age means the age of beginning of agriculture. So early man started producing his own food during Neolithic age. Statement number 1 is correct. The people of Neolithic period domesticated animals such as cow, horse, buffalo. Horse was not there. Cows were also mostly absent. Buffaloes were there sometimes. Sheep and goat were the main domesticated animals, so this point is wrong here. Cereals such as wheat and barley were amongst the first crops to be cultivated. First crop to be cultivated was rice. Wheat and barley were also among the earliest crops to be cultivated. So this statement is correct. Otherwise, if you have to see oldest crop to be cultivated by human being, the answer would be rice, not wheat or barley, but they were among the earliest to be cultivated. Second is wrong, first is correct. Which of these are correct? 1 and 3. Question number 4. In the context of stone tool making techniques, consider following statements. So these techniques were used by the people of Stone Age to make tools. The first technique was stone on stone. A big stone was taken that was held in hand. Other stone was used to hit it and remove the outer layers. The inner part was used by holding in hand. So these kind of stones shapes were given. These are the tools made by using technique of stone on stone, also known as core technology. That's correct. In pressure flaking technique, or the technique to make flake tools, a piece of stone, piece of bone or the stone was used to build pressure, remove outer layers, and then these flakes or these sheets were used to make different things or were used as tool. That is also correct here. So core technology, flake technology. These are two different technologies used to make tools during Paleolithic times or during earliest phase of Stone Age. These are examples of a stone tool here. Option, both are correct. C, 1 and 2 both. consider following statements. The period when man began using iron tools along with the stone tool came to known as Chalcolithic age. Chalcolithic age means stone tools plus copper tools. Copper was the first metal to be discovered by human being, and when man started using copper tools along with the stone tools, a new period known as Chalcolithic period came into existence. In India, the metal tools such as knives, copper or bronze axes have been found not at Isampur. Isampur is famous for a stone tool factory in Karnataka, but at Brahmagiri. Brahmagiri is also located in Karnataka. Here we have discovered copper, bronze, axes, knives, etc. Similar kind of tools have also been found from the sites of Chalcolithic cultures, but in Karnataka, the site is Brahmagiri, the site is not Isampur. So this is also wrong. Choose the correct statement. Which one is correct? Neither one nor two, that is D. With reference to the prehistoric and protohistoric age in India, consider following statements. The people of this age worshipped little cliff figurines which came to recognized as mother goddess. That's correct. Protohistoric means Chalcolithic period, Harappan period, Chalcolithic cultures time period. In Chalcolithic period, they were using different clay figurines. So mother goddess was the chief deity of people during protohistoric age. In case of death of a child, the body was placed in a large pot and this was buried. Such kind of evidence have been found at Namgaon and other places in Chalcolithic times. So both the statements are correct here. Third one, the people of this age were afraid of thunder and earthquakes. The natural phenomena which were encountered by people that could not be explained by them were taken by them as deities or were worshipped by them as gods and goddesses. So which of the statements are not correct? All the statements are correct here, so option would be none of the statements. All are correct. So read its instruction carefully, because some of the mistakes are being committed by every student because they are not reading instructions carefully. Pay attention to not or incorrect or whatever you have to find out. Question number 7. With reference to Gandhara School of Art, which of the statements given below are not correct? Again, not correct. Gandhara sculptures depicted themes from the Jataka stories. Jataka stories means the stories of previous births of Buddha. Gandhara school of sculpture emerged in 2nd century BC in northwestern parts of Indian subcontinent, Pakistan, Afghanistan region under the patronage of Shakas and Kushana rulers. It was famous for making Buddhist sculptures in large number. The images of Buddha and Bodhisattvas were made in large number. That's correct here. This school of art was developed indigenously. No, it was the result of foreign influence. It was deeply influenced by Greco-Roman art. Greeks were not the patrons were Shakas and Kushanas, but it was deeply under the influence of Greco-Roman school or Greco-Roman features of art. That is wrong. Which not correct? So only 3 is not correct here. Option is A. Question number 8. With reference to Vedic age, consider following statements. The Vedic age started with the inhabitation of Aryans in eastern portion, not in eastern portions, but in the western portions of Indo-Gangetic plain. So western part means Punjab, Haryana, western UP. These areas were occupied by Aryans during early Vedic age or when Aryans entered India, because theory is generally accepted they came from Central Asia. The Aryans were responsible for the composition of Rig Veda. That's correct. The sites such as Mahagara and Adichanallur, these are not Vedic age sites, these are the sites of Stone Age. So this point is not correct. These are sites of Stone Age, these are not sites of Vedic age. So this is a wrong statement here. 1 and 3, wrong. Only second is correct. Correct one. How many are correct? Only 1 is correct. Because only 2 is correct, so only 1 statement is correct. This pattern is a little difficult to tackle, but with practice you will master all these things. So pay attention to the pairs wala. With reference to ancient India, the term Kadasiyar. Kadasiyar means landless agricultural laborers, including the slaves. So these were landless agricultural laborers in South India, and these laborers classes were also including serfs or the slaves or the bonded laborers of that time. Option is C. Match list 1 with list 2. Jana, people of tribe. Sabha, a smaller gathering. Sabha was the body of Brahmanas and elders. Samiti was the body of commoners. Gramini was the head of village. Which of the pairs? So which of the pairs? Only 2 and 3 are correctly matched. Not correctly matched. So 1 and 4. 2 and 3 are correctly matched. 1 and 4 are not correctly matched. So instruction, read carefully and write, tick your answer accordingly. Number 11, with reference to Mauryan period, consider the following statements. The Shramanas were the orders of monks of Buddhist, Jaina and other religions. Correct. Shramanas means monks of heterodox sects, monks of non-Brahminical, non-Vedic religions. There were 62 heterodox sects which emerged in 6th century BC. Buddhism, Jainism, Ajavikas were most prominent among them, and the monks of those sects were known as Shramanas. Each village had its own official who were made responsible to keep a record of residents. That's correct. Megasthenes talks about Mauryan times. According to Megasthenes, the majority of people during Mauryan age were agriculturists, were peasants. They were not traders, they were peasants. So this is wrong here. 1 and 2 are correct. You have to find correct ones, so 1 and 2 only. 12. Kautilya's Arthashastra contains no reference of Mauryan Empire. Kautilya's Arthashastra is considered to be a book of Mauryan times, is supposed to talk about Mauryan administration. But a strange thing here is that nowhere Mauryan Empire or any name of Mauryan king is found in Arthashastra. That is correct. Arthashastra was not known initially. It was discovered only in 1905. The Arthashastra states that a man could be a slave either by birth, by voluntary selling. That's correct. Arthashastra talks about 9 types of slavery. Megasthenes also wrote about the situation of Mauryan age. Megasthenes said that slavery was absent in India. He perhaps could not differentiate between free men and the slaves because slaves in India were treated far, far better than what he had seen in his own Greco-Roman world. So he said slavery was absent, but reality was that Arthashastra talks about slavery, and Arthashastra says that there were 9 types of slaves. 9 varieties. Both are correct here. Third, Megasthenes gives us many reference of maintenance of large army. That's correct. According to Megasthenes, city of Patliputra was fortified city. That's correct. People lived in wooden houses, and the king also lived in wooden palace. The palace of Chandragupta Maurya was made of wood. Stone palace was built by Ashoka. So in Megasthenes' times, king was Chandragupta Maurya. His palace was made of wood, and that wooden palace was described by Megasthenes in great detail. How many statements are correct? 3 are correct. 1, 2, 3. Fourth one is wrong here. Number 13. In the context of events witnessed during 500 to 800 AD, consider following statements. The Chalukyan capital at Vatapi had trading ties with Southeast Asian countries as well as Iran. Indian kingdoms, particularly of peninsular India, were having trade relations with both east as well as with the western side of the world. Chalukyan king Pulkesin II met Harshvardhan in the battle on the banks of river Narmada, not Krishna, and in that battle he defeated Harsha. Information provided by Ahol inscription of Ravi Kirti. This is a very famous inscription. All of you should know it. Ravi Kirti was the court poet and minister of war and peace of Pulkesin II. Pallava king Mahendra Varman attacked Chalukyan king Pulkesin II, not Mahendra Varman but Narasimha Varmana first. Narasimha Varmana first attacked Chalukyan king Pulkesin II, defeated him, captured his capital Vatapi, and adopted the title of Vatapi Konda. So that is Narasimha Varmana first, not Mahendra Varman. 1 is correct, 2 and 3 are wrong. So which one is correct? Only 1. 14 number. With reference to Pallavas, consider following statements. The Pallavas started out as officers of Rajput kings and later turned into local lords, not Rajputas, as officers of Satavahanas. Rajputas came when Pallavas were already in the mid of their existence. Temples built during the rule of Pallavas served as social political hub. That's correct. They were playing very, very important role in social life, in economic life. They were providing employment to thousands of people. They were working as centers of administration at local level. They were working as centers of fairs and festivals at local level. So temples were integral part of social, cultural, political as well as economic life in South India during Pallava as well as later on under Cholas. You have to choose the correct one, so only 2. This is an example of Pallava temple. Hundreds of massive temples were built by Pallavas in the capital Kanchipuram, in nearby places, as well as Mahabalipuram. Read the following statements carefully. Zoroastrianism religion was founded by Iranian prophet named Zoroaster, and book is Jandavesta, that's correct. Zoroastrians came and settled in towns along the west coast, not east coast, but west coast of India, Maharashtra, Goa kind of areas, and they are known as Parsis, so this is wrong here. Zoroastrians had a tremendous influence on religions of Western Asia. No, they could not have any influence because when Islam emerged, the Zoroastrians were wiped out. This is wrong here. How many statements are correct? Only 1. Only 1 is correct here. You see, 2 and 3 are wrong. Number 16, in the context of Inamgaon. Inamgaon is a site of Calgrithic culture located in Maharashtra. This site is located on the banks of River Ghaud in Maharashtra, and burial within house. Evidence found here, correct. Evidence of a 5-roomed house having a granary found here, correct. Cut marks found on the bones of animals indicate that animals were consumed or animals were hunted. Animals were consumed for their food. So all the 3 statements are correct. How many are correct? Which are the statements correct? All are correct. So 1, 2, 3. 17 number. In the context of Mughal architecture, consider following statements. Ibadat Khana, also known as house of worship, was the place of knowledgeable. That's correct. This was a building built by Akbar at Fatehpur Sikri, and here he used to organize discussions on religious and philosophical matters. Initially, only Muslim scholars were invited, but when he was not happy with the interpretation, he opened the doors of Ibadat Khana for the experts of other religions also. Panch Mahal depicts the incorporation of features of Buddhist architecture. That's correct. Panch Mahal at Fatehpur Sikri is exhibiting influence of Buddhist architecture. So there are many monuments exhibiting different kind of styles of influence, like Buland Darwaja, built in the memory of conquest of Gujarat, exhibits influence of Deccani architecture. Birbal's palace, Hindu architecture. So all those influences you have to remember. Number 3, adoption of Charbagh style is one of the main contributions. That's correct. All are correct here. You need to choose correct one, so all are correct. 80 number. Look at the terms and the matching. Gana, Sangha, Karmakaras. Vis means ordinary people. Karmakaras means laborers. Sangha means organization or association. Gana means group that has many members. Sangha, Buddhist Sanghas. All these terms are given in NCERT in separate highlighted boxes. So such kind of terms which are given in boxes, you must remember. The questions are being asked by UPSC every year. So how many pairs are correctly matched? Only 2, that is 3rd and 4th. 1st and 2nd are not correctly matched. So option here is only 2 pairs. 19. With reference to the life of early Vedic people, consider following statements. When the Aryans first arrived in India, they were hostile towards natives, and those natives were termed as Dasas and Dashyus. Aryans are more hostile towards Dashyus than Dasas. It is believed that Dasas were the early, some generations ago, early Aryan groups who entered India a few generations back. They had lost their skin color and culture to some extent because of intermixing with natives. The Dashyus were the indigenous people considered or supposed to be descendants of Harappan civilization. Black people, phallus worshippers. Dasas and the Dashyus spoke a different language. They worshipped different deities. Many of the Dasas were eventually enslaved, and that's why the slave term is Dasa. How many are correct? All are correct. D. 20. With reference to administration of Cholas, read the following statements. Temples were an important component of economic life of Chola period. That's correct. Temples were working as centers of administration, seat of justice, looking after irrigation facilities, looked after markets, looked after employment opportunities. Temples were also big feudal lords at times. They had hundreds of villages under their control. Village administration in Chola period was carried out by villagers through Sabha. That's correct. Chola local self-governing bodies. Information is provided by very important inscriptions, Uttira, Merur inscriptions, you must remember. 919-921, there are two inscriptions belonging to the reign of Chola king Prantaka I. Uttiramirur talks about qualifications, disqualifications, functions of local bodies known as Sabha. The people who had knowledge of Vedas, who had property, they could be elected, but lottery system, in Tamil language the term is Kudavolai. Kudavolai was used to select the members of Sabha. All are correct here, 1 to 3. How many are correct? 1 to 3, all are correct. 21. Consider following statements about Palas of Bengal. Pala kingdom came into existence when first King Gopala, not captured, but was elected by the local feudal lords. There was a lot of disorder, anarchy in Bengal in 7th, 8th centuries. In around the middle of 8th century, in around 750 AD, Gopal was elected as the king by the local feudal lords. He did not capture power. Kannauj was brought under the control of Pala kingdom for some time during the reign of Dharampal. For capturing Kannauj, Palas, Pratiharas and Rajputas had a long fight known as tripartite struggle. So Dharampal was successful in capturing Kannauj for some time and installing his puppet local king there. The Palas were successful in organizing a strong army and getting support of neighboring kingdoms. And this neighboring kingdom we are talking about, particularly Rajputas, that is correct. So 1 is wrong, 2 and 3 are correct. 2 and 3 are correct. Here you need to choose correct statements. 22. Terms matching Ur, settlement of peasants. Valanadu, administrative unit at district level or close to district level. Alvars were devotees of Vishnu. Nayanars were devotees of Shiva. How many are not correctly matched? 3 are not correctly matched. 1, 3 and 4. Only 2 is correctly matched. Ur means the villages of Tamil peasants, Villalas villages. Tamil peasants were known as Villal. So Villalas or Villals. Those places or villages inhabited by Villalas were known as Ur. 3D. 23. Books and writers. Prithviraj Raso was written by Chandradai. Katha Sarit Sagar by Somdev. Vikramank Devacharita by Bilhana. And Hari Vilasamu by Srinatha or Srinatha. Option 1A, 2D. 1A, 2D, done. C. 24. Which of the following statements are correct about early medieval age? During early medieval period, Buddhism was no longer popular in India and this religion got completely wiped out. That is wrong. Buddhism was not popular, but it was not completely wiped out. Through the dissemination of Bhakti teachings within Hinduism, Tamil devotionals, saints contributed to creation of new languages. So new local languages came into existence in South India because of the activities of Alvar and Nayanar saints. First wrong, second correct, third one. Both import and export relations with Mediterranean world, East Africa, West Asia were well developed. First wrong, second, third right. Correct statements 2 and 3. So 2 and 3. 25. With reference to economic structure during early medieval period, consider following statements. Unlike ancient period, the king no longer had any direct control over the collection of revenue because kings transferred control over revenue to his soldiers, to his commanders, to local feudal lords by way of land grants. When somebody was given land grants, it means person was given control over revenue or person was given the right to collect revenue. The amount of revenue to be collected was decided by king. The local officer was only responsible. He had only the power to collect revenue, not decide the amount of revenue. Third, the officers enjoyed complete ownership right. No ownership right was there, and this right was never given by king. Of course, when they continued to have control over the land for generations, they became like owners. They started claiming ownership rights, but they were never given ownership rights by the king. So this is wrong. 1 is correct, 2, 3 are wrong. Correct statements, only 1. Always look at the instructions carefully, otherwise there will be some silly mistake. 26. Medieval term the Rai. Rai were the people who received grants of revenue. So these three statements are talking about people like Rai, the Bhumihars in Bihar. 27. With reference to reign of Alauddin Khilji, consider following statements. In order to maintain large army, he imposed high rate of tax on peasants in Doab region. That's correct. Doab region means Ganga Yamuna plain area. He started the process of measurement of land under cultivation to fix the amount of revenue, and the system developed by him was known as Mashahat system. Mashahat system, not Jabti system. Jabti system was developed by Sher Shah. So second is wrong, first is correct. First is correct, one only. 28. With reference to the rise of new kingdoms along the eastern coast of India, consider following statements. This is the question regarding Sangam age. The heads of three governing dynasties, Chola, Chera, Pandyas, were known as Movendar. Movendar is the middle term for three chiefs, correct. The chiefs of these kingdoms, instead of collecting regular revenue, they were looking for gift, or they were demanding and accepting gifts from people. That was working like a revenue system. 1 and 2 both are correct. D. 29. In the context of Bahmani kingdom, consider following statements. Goa was annexed from Vijayanagar by Mahmud Gawa, the chief minister of Bahmani kingdom. Perfectly correct. The nobles of Bahmani sultans were divided into two groups, consisting of the native Muslims from the Deccan and the foreigners. Perfectly correct. Both are correct here. C. 30. The term khutbah means the sermon delivered on Friday at the time of Friday prayer in the honor of the ruling king or the sultan here. So governing king, sermon delivered at Friday, special Friday prayer held by the Muslims, that is khutbah. B. 31. Consider following statements. Both Firoz Shah Tughlaq and Kashmir's ruler Jain-ul Abidin was a liberal king. He is famously known as Akbar of Kashmir. They increased scholars in their court. They increased translation of Sanskrit works. Bahman Shah, who worked as official under Muhammad bin Tughlaq, not under Firoz Tughlaq, because this Bahman Shah established Bahmani kingdom in 1347 when Firoz Tughlaq was yet to sit on throne. Bahmani kingdom extended from northern Deccan to river Krishna in southern part. First, third correct, second wrong. First, third. 32. In the context of Sufism, consider following statement. Sufis did not try to convert Hindus. Rather, their focus was to promote idea of one true God. That everyone should believe that God is one. The names of that God could be different. The Sufi saint Sheikh Bahauddin Zakaria believed that devotional music, not Bahauddin Zakaria Chistis. Bahauddin Zakaria was Suhrawardi. Suhrawardis were orthodox. They were against paintings, music, dance. Chistis were liberal. Muinuddin Chisti, Nizamuddin Auliya, they used music. Only one is correct. Second is wrong. Sufis did not consider prayers, fast rituals as important because they were free from complexities of rituals and ceremonies. 1 and 3 are correct, 2 is wrong. Option is D. In the context of Karachi session of Congress, consider following statements. A resolution on fundamental rights and economic policy was adopted in this session. Karachi session 1931 was presided over by Sardar Patel, and these resolutions were drafted by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Very important, both the names. Through these resolutions, for the first time, Congress defined the meaning of Swaraj for common masses, or Congress explained what could be the provisions of Indian Constitution for the benefit of people. So this section outlined numerous objectives and aspirations. That's correct. This resolution reflected growing influence of leftist ideas of socialism on Congress. That's correct, because socialism means welfare state, something that focuses on the welfare, well-being of the vast majority of common people. All the 3 statements are correct here. You need to choose the correct one, so all 3. 34. With reference to Bhakti movement, consider following statements. Unlike Saint Kabir, Chaitanya was not associated. Unlike Chaitanya, Kabir was not associated. Kabir was not a part of any specific religion as such. Chaitanya was part of Hinduism. So that way you have to modify it a bit. This is not correct. Both Kabir and Nanak disapproved of prevailing discrimination against women. They were for gender equality, they were for caste equality, they were against all kind of inequalities. So second is correct. It was during the period of the Bhakti movement that Malik Muhammad Jaisi composed Padmavat, dealing with Padmavati, Queen of Chittor. So 2 and 3 are correct. First is wrong. Question number 35. Consider the following statements about sultans of Delhi. Sultan Balban was despotic ruler and believed that no one could oppose Sultan's absolute power. He was a symbol of despotism. He believed that Sultan was a representative of God on earth. So that is correct. Sultan Muhammad bin Tughlaq introduced Iqta system. No, Sultan Muhammad Ghori introduced Iqta system. Iltutmish reorganized Iqta system for the first time, and he was much before Muhammad bin Tughlaq. A large army was sent southwards under Malik Kafur by Alauddin Khilji to subjugate southern territories. That's correct. Malik Kafur was his commander who led his campaign against South Indian states of Kakatiyas of Warangal, Yadavas of Devgiri, Dwar Samudra Hoysalas, and Pandyas of Madurai. 1 and 3. Correct? 1 and 3. 36. With reference to kingdoms that emerged during the period from 800 to 1200, look at the list of matching. Chehmanas, Central Rajasthan, Chauhans, Durgaras, or basically Dogra, this is term for Dogra, Jammu, Utkal, Odisha, Pawars in Malwa region. A1, B3. So 1A, 2C, 3B. 1A, 2C, 3B, D. 37. Consider following statements. The Calico Act was enacted by British Parliament in 1720 to prohibit the buying, selling, use of Indian printed cloth known as cheat. Idea was to prohibit the use of Indian cloth, prohibit the entry of Indian cloth in Britain so that the newly emerging British industries could be safeguarded from Indian competition. Correct. The rising competition between textile markets of India and England led to invention of spinning jenny by James Hargreaves. Samuel Crompton invented a spinning mule. So see these names carefully. Indian markets were flooded with machine-made cotton products imported from England, and this played an important role in the decline of Indian handicraft industry. Third point is correct. 1 and 3 correct, second wrong, correct 1 and 3. 38. Tanti were the weavers of Bengal, Julahas weavers in northern India, and Kalkolkar weavers in southern India. All are matched 1, 2, 3. So how many are matched? All. 39. Chipigars. Who are Chipigars? Chipigars were the block printers of 18th century. They were weavers, associates basically. Weavers were weaving cloth and they were printing the cloth. These questions are not that difficult. You have to just read carefully. You'll find all the questions have been taken line by line from NCERT books. Question number 40. James Mill in his book History of India divided Indian history into 3 periods: Hindu, Muslim, and the Christian period. Not ancient, medieval, modern. Hindu, Muslim, and Christian. Ancient, medieval, modern tradition was a new nomenclature for the same classification but by Indian nationalist historians. According to James Mill, because of the authoritarianism, Hindus and Muslims, sultans, India was at a lower stage. This is what they believed. India was not developed. India was not having civilization. Indians were living in a kind of barbarian life and they needed white men's support. James Mill was of the opinion that British rule would benefit Indians. So 2 and 3 are correct. First is wrong. Correct 1, 2 and 3. With the defeat of Mir Qasim in the Battle of Buxar, Mir Jafar was reinstalled as the Nawab of Bengal. That's correct. Though in reality, Mir Qasim was removed by Company as Nawab of Bengal little earlier after the fight between Company and Mir Qasim in 1763. But after Battle of Buxar, Mir Jafar became Nawab a bit more formally. After Mir Jafar passed away, Mughal emperor named English company. This was through Treaty of Allahabad, 1765. Diwani rights allowed English company to use vast resources of India to balance Indian trade, to buy Indian goods and export those goods outside India or to Europe, and this resulted in huge amount of drain of Indian wealth. So drain of wealth increased enormously. 1 and 3 are correct. 42. With reference to Tipu Sultan, consider following statements. To increase the growth of domestic exports, Sultan prohibited export of sandalwood, pepper and cardamom, not decrease. Decrease is on tax, promotes export. So he prohibited export of these goods so that industries in India could develop. Wrong. There were quotations written from Quran on the steel handle of Tipu Sultan's sword. 3. On visiting Mysore, Francis Buchanan wrote about Urukku steel or Wootch steel, also known as Wootch steel. Indians were making this highest quality, best quality steel in the world, Urukku or Wootch steel, and Mysore was having the place of foremost significance. This technique was learned by Europeans and then they copied it. 1 wrong, 2, 3 correct. Not correct, 1 only. 43. Compilation of Hindu and Muslim laws happened. You need to see chronology here in this question. 1775. In 1776, Nathaniel Brassey Hall had translated that compilation into English with the title Code of Zentu Laws or Hindu Laws. Establishment of new Supreme Court, 1774. New system of justice by Warren Hastings, 1772. Policy of paramountcy starts in 1813 under Lord Hastings. So look at the chronology. 3 to 1, 4. C. 44. Read the following statements about land revenue settlement carefully. The Razas and Talukdars were regarded as Zamindars in permanent settlement and were tasked with collecting revenue. That's correct. In the Mahalwari system, the villages had to pay revenue to Zamindars, not Zamindar. There was no Zamindar in Mahalwari. Village headman was used as a mediator, but he was not a Zamindar, so that we have to be careful. Mahal means village or the estate. Number 3, both Alexander Reed and Thomas Munro felt that in South India there were no traditional Zamindars, and that's why they developed Rayatwari system for Madras Presidency. So this is correct. 1 and 3 are correct. Choose correct one. So 1 and 3, 2 is wrong. 45. Niche system. These were terms related to indigo cultivation. Niche means the European planter using his own land or rented land to grow indigo. Rayati system means forcing peasants to grow indigo on their own land. Teen Katia system of Champaran, Bihar was an example of Rayati system. This was most exploitative. Wards were the fermenting and storage vessels. Mahal means village. Select the correct answer. 1. 1D BC A. 1D BC A. C. 46. Newspaper founded by Al Hilal by Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, Comrade by Muhammad Ali, Kesari and the Maratha were by Tilak, and Miratul Akhbar by Rajaram Mohan Rai. So you have to know all the important newspapers and their editors or the founders. How many pairs correctly matched? 3 and 4 are matched. 2 pairs are correctly matched. 47. With reference to prominent personalities who participated in Revolt of 57, consider following pairs. Rani Avanti by Lodhi, she was from MP. Burgess Qadir was Lucknow. Bakht Khan was Bareilly. Tatya Tope Kanpur. Burgess Qadir was the son of Begum Hazrat Mahal or last Nawab of Awadh, Wajid Ali Shah, who was removed by Dalhousie on the pretext of misgovernance. Which of the pairs is correctly matched? 1 and 4. 48. With reference to aftermath of revolt of 57, consider following statements. The Secretary of State for India, who was to be a member of British cabinet, was made in charge. That's correct. Office of Secretary of State for India was created. The land and the property of Muslims were confiscated on a large scale because Muslims were held responsible by the British for the revolt of 57. The power of zamindars over the tenants and their land was completely confiscated. That is wrong. Zamindars were in fact supported by British. They stopped annexing or taking of the land of the landlords, so zamindars. They stopped annexing native states. So policy of conservatism was followed by British after 1857. They supported conservative or the old power classes. Correct? 1 and 2. Third is wrong. 49. Lucknow Pact statements a request for more seats for elected Indians in Central Legislative Council. That's correct. Home rule leagues were established by Annie Besant, but not Arvindo Ghosh, by B.J. Tilak. Second is wrong. Both the Indian National Congress and Muslim League accepted idea of separate electorates. This was the agreement reached here between Muslim League and Congress. They agreed to accept the principle of separate electorates, which was announced by Minto Maular reforms of 1909 for Muslims and landlords. 1 and 3 correct. Correct 1. 2 is wrong. 50. With reference to social religious reforms witnessed during British rule in India, which of the following statements are correct? Through the establishment of a primary school of girls in Aligarh, Muslim women like Begums of Bhopal made a significant contribution. That's correct. During the course of 19th century, Christian missionaries began setting up schools. This was the tool used by them to promote Christianity among tribals. They had been very successful in that. Third, the Satnami movement in central India led by Ghasidas improved condition of lower classes. By the second half of the 19th century, movement in the Widow Remarriage Act in Madras Presidency was led by Veera Asilingam Pantulu. That's correct. All are correct here. B. Consider following pairs. Authors' books. Tarabai Shinde, Istri Purush Tulna. Jyotiba Phule Gulamgiri and Ramabai, Pandit Ramabai, the high caste Hindu women. Which of the pairs given above are correctly matched? Only 2. In the context of developments witnessed in popular art in the 19th century, consider following statements. Patuas and Kumars focused on mythological themes and painted images of gods and goddesses. That's correct. When the artists moved to Kalighat, these Patuas and Kumars moved to Kalighat. Kalighat is a place in Calcutta famous for Kalighat, Kali Mata temple. They added a style of shading. That's correct. Kalighat School of Painting immersed. Even though the work of Kalighat artists might have looked otherwise realistic, they commented or they highlighted social political themes also. This is wrong. They did not refrain from highlighting social political issues. They raised social and political issues commonly. So 1 and 2 are correct. Third is wrong. 53. Paintings. Painters. Jatu Graha Daha by Nandalal Bose, very famous painting. The Banished Yakshas, Kalidas Meghdut by Abanindranath Tagore. And Raja Ravi Verma was the painter of Krishna Sadhan. C, A, B, D. Consider following statements. Abanindranath Tagore and Nandalal Bose were influenced by the art of Japanese artists. That's correct. Nandalal Bose was greatly influenced by Rajput miniatures, but he was not lacking originality. This is wrong. Only 1 is correct here. So you need to choose correct ones, only 1. 55. Tirunamatukani, land given to temples. Land gifted to temples by the kings in South India. 56. Mughal period. Consider following statement. The weaponry brought by Babur from Central Asia helped him in defeating Lodi army. He brought artillery. It was the use of artillery or gunpowder that tilted the tables against Ibrahim Lodi. The Mughal administration was a hybrid of Indian, Persian and Central Asian elements. That's correct. Jahangir rejected Sir Thomas Roe's attempts to convince him Enter Pat Thomas Roe came to India in 1615. 1615 to 1618, he remained here for 3 years. He was the ambassador of English King James I. Before him came William Hawkins, 1608 to 1611. Both the names you should know. Correct one, all the three are correct here. See. 56. Europeans adopted two of the Arabs' inventions, the astrolabe. Astrolabe is a device, the clock kind of a watch and a device that is used to match the angle of stars and planets. Quadrant to find direction. Arabs were the ones who improved ships' fighting capability, not Arabs, Portuguese. Portuguese started placing guns on ships. They became the founders of naval power, and that naval power was used by them to push Arabs out of Indian trade. Only one is correct. With reference to arrival of Portuguese in India, consider following statements. The first concern of the Portuguese upon coming to India was to take over spice trade from Arab traders. Perfectly correct. In addition to making as much money as they could, they tried to convert Indians into Christianity. That is also correct. Portuguese brought Christianity to India. That is wrong. Christianity came to India in 1st century AD, when Christianity emerged actually by Saint Thomas. Saint Thomas was the first Christian missionary to come to India in 1st century AD. So this is wrong here. 1 and 2 only. 59. These are officers of Mughal times and their functions. Khane-Saman looked after royal household. Kotwal in charge of law and order, police officer. Subedar, governor of province, and Bakshi was in charge of military department. Which of the pairs given above are not correctly matched? So 1 and 3 are not correctly matched. 2 and 4 are correctly matched. 60. Writers, personalities, and literary work. Fazi contributed to translation of Mahabharata and Panchatantra, also Bhagavad Gita. Abul Fazl wrote Aine Akbari. It's the third part of Akbarnama. Tulsidas wrote Ramcharitmanas and Rahim Khan wrote Dohas, Abdul Rahim Khane Khana. Select the correct code 1B2A 3C4D. C. 61. Akbar chose Fatehpur Sikri as his new capital because of his devotion to Sufi Saint Salim Chishti. Fatehpur Sikri was the center of Sheikh Salim Chishti. Akbar was devoted to Salim Chishti because through the blessings of Salim Chishti, Salim or Jahangir was born, not Nizamuddin Auliya. In an effort to win Akbar over to Christianity, Portuguese governor dispatched missionaries and they were unsuccessful. That's correct. Akbar encouraged people not to eat meat, not to kill animals. 2 and 3 are correct. Not correct, so only 1. 62. Which of the following kingdoms had an institution called Ashtapradhan? Marathas. Ashtapradhan were Peshwa. Peshwa was Prime Minister. Sir in Nobat. You should know all these Ashtapradhan because they are being asked by UPSC repeatedly. Senapati. Pandit Rao, in charge of charity. Nyayadhish, judicial department. Then you have Amatya, finance minister. Sumant or Dabir, foreign secretary. Sachiva, correspondence. Vakyanav is intelligence. All these 8. This institution of Ashtapradhan was developed by Bahmanis, and from Bahmanis, Marathas adopted it. So all 8, their functions you should know. Option here is A. 63. Adoption of resolution of Purna Swaraj during Madras session. For the first time, Congress adopted Purna Swaraj resolution unofficially in December 1927 at Madras session. Officially, Purna Swaraj resolution was adopted at Lahore in December 1929. This was unofficially through a voice vote because everyone was agitated due to the appointment of Simon Commission in November 1927. HSRA was created in 1928. Bhagat Singh and Batukeshwar Dutt threw bombs in CLA 1929. Order. 2, 1, 3, 4. Chronology 2, 1, 3, 4. 64. Matanga's well-known composition Brihadeshi deals with ragas in depth. That's correct. Kitab-i-Nawras, a collection of Ibrahim Adil Shah's works. Ibrahim Adil Shah, he was Sultan of Bijapur, famous for his liberal work. He used to worship goddess Saraswati. He established a new city called Noraspur, and he wrote book Noras also. So he was a devotee of music basically. He was a liberal king. Both are correct, 1 and 2. 65. The progress in painting during the reign of Shah Jahan reflects keen interest in European style. European style influence was visible during the reign of Jahangir. When Aurangzeb became emperor, he disapproved activities related to painting. He prohibited them, and painters were banished. These painters of Mughals court reached Pahadi school, or they reached Himalayas, built Pahadi school, they reached Rajasthan, and they gave birth to Rajasthani or Rajput style of painting. The Deccan school of painting, which increased by Golconda, emerged during medieval age, not early medieval age, particularly 18th centuries. So, 1 and 3 are wrong, 2 is correct. Correct one, only 2. 66. With reference to period of Mughal rule in India, consider following statements. Sheikh Ahmad Sirhindi was a contemporary of Aurangzeb. Sheikh Ahmad Sirhindi was from 1564 to 1626, 24, 26 around. He was contemporary of Akbar and Jahangir, not Aurangzeb. Dara Shikoh, son of Shah Jahan, studied Sufism, Vedanta philosophy, translated Upanishads, translated Bhagavad Gita also. Correct. 2. 2 is correct. First is wrong. Option is 2 because you have to choose correct statements. 67. India was known to ancient as Jambudvipa because Jambu tree. That's correct. The current name Bharat comes from Bharat tribe of Rigveda. Greeks used to refer India as Inde, and the Arabs used to refer as Sindhu, Hindu. So these two are wrong here. Arabs were referred not Inde, Greeks were referring as Inde. 1 and 2 are correct, 2 and 3 and 4 are wrong here. Select the correct answer. You have to choose not correct, so 3 and 4. 68. Sun Temple at Konark is popularly known as Black Pagoda because the stone is of blackish color. The term White Pagoda is used for Jagannath Temple of Puri. The architectural structures of Tughlaq period were massive in size. They were less beautiful, use of cheap stone, but massive size. Sharki rulers built impressive Atala Mosque, which exhibits influence of ancient Indian motifs like lotus. That's correct. All are correct here. 69. Descent of Ganges. This is a kind of bas relief carving on a big stone boulder at Mahabalipuram. This is also identified as Arjuna's penance and belongs to Pallava period. The story of Bhagirath penance, descent of Ganges. So in this rock boulder there is one old man kind of person with a big beard is standing with the hands up and on one leg. This person has been variously interpreted by historians. Some say is Bhagirath worshipping god Shiva to protect the earth from the fury of Ganges. Some say this is Arjuna penancing in battlefield of Kurukshetra to get a special weapon of Shiva, Pinaka, if you know, the bow of Shiva. So option here is A. 70. Mukaddam was the term used for village headmen in medieval times. They were basically revenue administrators. They were collecting revenue from peasants on behalf of the state, and they were village headmen, village level functionaries. Bhavabhuti wrote Uttar Ramacharita, Bhairavi Kirtarjuniya, Pampa Vikrama Arjuna Vijaya, and Ranna wrote Gada Yudha. 1, 4 correctly matched. How many pairs are correctly matched? Only 2 pairs. because 2 and 3 are not correctly matched. 72, Raja Ram Mohan Roy celebrated success of revolution in France. You need to see chronology, I think, yes. Chronology, 1830. Forming of Social Conference by M.G. Ranade, 1887. Annie Besant becoming head of Theosophical Society, 1893. Scientific Society by Syed Ahmad Khan, 1863 or 64. 1423. C. 73 in the context of Wood's dispatch, something related to progress in the field of education, 1854. Charles Wood, President of Board of Control, sent it. Under this, English was designated as medium of instruction at college level. At elementary level, vernacular language or vernacular languages were to be used as medium of instruction. According to this, purpose of education was to propagate Western culture and to create clerks or prepare Indians for state-oriented jobs. Only two. First one is wrong here, second is correct. 74. Ziauddin Barni wrote Tariq-e-Firoz Shahi, Qutban, Mirgawati, and Amir Khusro, Kiranu-Sadain. Amir Khusro wrote many other books like Tughlaq-Nama, like No Sifar, most important book, Khazin-ul-Futuhu. 1 to 3, all are correctly matched here. Option is C. 75. Rich peasants' populations in countryside such as Patidars and Jats were severely affected by declining prices, and this was they participated in CDM. That's correct. Declining prices adversely affected their income. Peasants benefit only when prices are high. Lahore session of Congress held in 1929 permitted Congress working committees to decide to launch a campaign of CDM and decide whether not to pay taxes. Both are correct. 76. Read the following statements carefully and select the correct answer from the code given below. The delegates who participated in first session of Congress held in Bombay were from all the parts of British India. Indian National Congress was established to mobilize Indians to achieve objective of national advancement. Lord Dufferin was the Governor General at the time of emergence of Congress. 2 and 3. 77. In the context of Government of India Act 1935, consider following statement. This act called for the creation of All India Federation consisting of British India and Indian native states. Correct. This act provided for the establishment of a bicameral legislature for the first time by Act of 1919. First wrong, first right, second wrong. Correct one, only one. 78. Consider following organization. Bombay Presidency Association, you need to see chronology. January 1885. Indian Association 1776. Madras Mahajan Sabha 1884 December. Pune Sarojini Sabha 1870. Option. Not 1776, 1876. 4, 2, 3, 1. Option is C. 79. In the context of Bhakti movement, consider following statements. Bhagavad Gita mentions notion of Bhakti. That's correct. Action, devotion, renunciation, karma, tyag, bhakti. These are three principles of Bhagavatism or Bhagavata religion promoted by Vasudeva Krishna. According to Bhakti system, deity can manifest in any form. And these forms could be lion, tree, or any other form. That is what is all about Bhakti. You can worship your God in any way. It's all about the purity of heart. What matters is the purity of intention, not anything else. All are correct here. 1 to 3. 80. In the context of Minto Mohalla reforms, that is 1909 Act, consider following statements. These reforms brought about modifications in selection of members of Legislative Council and system of nomination cum election. This was done by Act of 1892. Indian Councils Act of 1892 introduced the system of election in India for the first time. 1909 continued it. 1919 Act The Government of India Act 1919 introduced the system of direct election in India for the first time. These reforms introduced the provisions of separate electorates in accordance with the policy of divide and rule. That's correct. The extremist leadership of Indian national movement acknowledged these reforms as step towards. No, they were against. They did not accept these reforms. They were not satisfied by these reforms. So not correct 1 and 3. D. 81. With reference, now we have current affairs related questions. Till 80 questions were related to history and culture. With reference to carbon offsetting reduction scheme of international aviation, consider following statement. It's a global scheme established by ICAO to address growth of CO2 emission caused by international aviation. That's correct. CORSIA has voluntary participation. CORSIA has 2 phases. First phase is based on voluntary participation. Second is compulsory participation. India has not participated in first phase, but India will be participating in the second phase, that is the compulsory phase. ICAO is a specialized agency of UNO. This was established in 1944, in fact. How many statements are correct? 2. 82. Consider following statements about significance of direct reduction process involving use of hydrogen. This is about the steel making process. In normal process, coke is used to reduce iron, but in the new process, hydrogen is used to reduce iron. Hydrogen is a fuel also. It produces a huge amount of energy. So it is efficient. It does not produce any kind of carbon dioxide. Water is the only byproduct. So it's a very efficient process of reduction, producing only water vapor as byproduct. This process of direct reduction used in decarbonization is more efficient. That's correct. Direct reduction process produces high quality iron. That's correct. And it produces up to 97% less carbon dioxide. So this is more global environment friendly. All the statements are correct. D. 83. Read the following statements carefully. Star Barison. This is basically orientation device used in satellites to find direction to maintain their levelings. It's a star sensor that helps a small CubeSat class satellite in finding their orientation in space. That's correct. It is built by using off-the-shelf commercially available components. Cost is 10% of the normal orientation sensor. This sensor has been developed by Indian Institute of Astrophysics, not by ISRO. 1 and 2 correct, 3rd is wrong. 84. Consider following statements about painted stork. Painted stork, this is a bird that is found in wetlands of India, Southeast Asia, in Himalayas as well as in southern part of India. This is not vulnerable. This is coming under lesser endangered category. So this is not coming under vulnerable category. The most important category that IUCN or Red Data list, a Red Data book that uses is extinct. So neither it's not extinct, it's not endangered, it's not vulnerable. It's least concern category right now. So this is wrong here. Only 1 is correct. Laundromat countries, 5 countries have been identified as the importers of around 70% of crude oil from Russia. They refine this crude oil and they export to Europe and other markets. So they are basically involved in laundry of fuel. Laundromat: India, China, Singapore, Turkey and UAE. These are 5 countries. So how many above? 3. It was introduced, Fit for 55, introduced not by UNO but by European Union. It aims to minimize greenhouse gas emissions. That is correct here. Only 2. First is wrong, 2 is correct. 87. In the context of organ on a chip, consider following statement. This is basically a device, interface of electronic digital system and the medicine digital system is developing organs in a kind of laboratory, so that by using genetic code we can have specific organs and we can use those organs on a chip to manufacture personalized medicine. So drug discovery, personalized medicine, correct. Micro-engineered biomimetic is mimicking biosystem. It's like human tissue. It can replicate key aspects of human physiology. That's correct. 1, 2, 3, all are correct. 88, which of the following organization released Future of the Job Report? World Economic Forum is the body here. Recently, World Press Freedom Index, Norway is number 1. India is number 161 around, last. Look at the options here. 2, 3, 1, 4, this is number 2, and Denmark comes at number 3, and India is last. Sri Lanka and Pakistan are much above India in this report. So it appears that these Europeans are bent on criticizing India. So option here is A. 90. To appoint president of World Bank, person is appointed on the basis of merit. Person has to be from a member country. And the president is Sophia chairman of IBRD and IDA. That's correct. 1 and 3 are correct. Second is wrong here because the candidate has to be from member countries. 91. Krishi Mapper is used for geospatial mapping in agriculture. This is app recently launched. 92. Digital twin. This is a basically 3-dimensional virtual object creating device. You can have urban mapping, you can have anything else with the help of this AI-powered virtual representation device. It offers a model of urban planning. That's correct. It can be reprogrammed to work in automatic manner. All 3. 93. Sittwe port is in Myanmar. India and Myanmar are developing it together. Which of the following statements are correct regarding Mridangam? Mridangam is not related to Hindustani. This is related to Carnatic or the traditional Indian style of music. First is wrong. It's leather and jackwood. That's correct. It's found in Sangam literature. That's correct. 2 and 3. 95. Optical tweezers are used for gene editing. They are scientific instruments using a laser beam to hold a microscopic object. They can be used for nanoengineering and nanochemistry. They were not invented by Albert Einstein. They were invented by Arthur Ashley. He won Nobel Prize in 2018 for this. 1 and 2 are correct. Only 2. Recently, Union Cabinet approved National Medical Device Policy, proposes single window clearance, established large medical device park. This correct. Policy increases private PPP and Make in India Ayushman Bharat program and availability of skilled workforce. All are correct here. 97. Reference to sustainable aviation fuel to cut down the release of CO2 in space. It is created by using domestically developed methods, cooking oil and oil seeds. That's correct. The use of SAF in India will be reducing greenhouse gas emission. That's correct. Both are correct. 98. In the context of psychedelic substances which are used for some kind of drug kind of stuff, marijuana and others, these are a group of drugs that alter perception, mood and other things. They are considered to be less addictive, less harmful to the end user. In India, it is the Act of 1985 which prohibits the use. 1 and 3. Not correct, only 2. 99. Which of the following statements are correct about slab tracking system? This is used in bullet train. It is a type of railway track infrastructure in which traditional elastic combination of sleepers blast is replaced by rigid construction of concrete. The bullet train being built between Mumbai and Ahmedabad will use it. Invention was not in Germany but in Japan. Japan is the inventor of this technique. So option here is 1 and 2. Third is wrong. The last question here, front running. Front running means using some other entity to work on behalf of you so that you can use your secret insider trading information to make money by selling or dealing in stocks. So illegal practice in a stock market where an entity based on advanced information try to make money. So A. So dear students, this was a discussion of your test paper. I hope you could find the reasons behind the mistakes committed by you. Always ensure that silly mistakes are never made, because if you make silly mistakes, then it will be very, very difficult to pass through the filter of prelims exam. So if you have any other difficulty, you are always free to meet me in office or connect me through teacher support, and I'm always here to help you. So keep working hard. All the best. God bless you.